You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelly Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelly Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. Tonight, I have an interesting topic up for discussion, and that is crime cases solved with the help of psychics. Before we get started, I would like to invite everyone to join me at chat at wbhm-db.com, or you can join in on the discussion and ask me any questions you might have. So first off, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And for those of you who are in the listening areas of the blizzard that's been predicted for late tonight and all day tomorrow, I hope everyone is ready for this. And I hope everyone stays safe and that we don't get as much snow as they're predicting, because I certainly don't want that. I am in the path of the storm, and I am hoping we do not get that 12 inches of snow they're predicting. Anyways, I just want to say I hope everyone stays safe. So, the topic up for discussion tonight is the crime cases that were solved with the help of psychics. So, first of all, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with what a psychic is, but I'm going to explain a little bit about what a psychic is and their abilities, and just a little brief overview so that you folks will know what I'm talking about later on in the show. Now, a psychic is a person who has abilities to identify information that is hidden or not known to others, or not known by the natural normal means, okay? Now, this information is usually outside of natural or normal scientific knowledge. Psychic power is actually the ability to know something without any logical connection or thought process. You just know it to be true. The person possessing the psychic power, and it can come to them from like through a vibration, through a voice that they hear in their head, or it might be an image comes to them. It can also come through their senses, like the sense of touch, the sense of sight, or hearing. Now, if it's coming through their senses, it's also what we call a sixth sense, through the brow chakra. And this is what some people actually call extrasensory perception, or ESP. Now, when the psychic has the ability of sight, meaning seeing things that the rest of us can't see, they are said to be clairvoyant. And when they hear things that the rest of us can't hear, they are said to be clairaudience. And if they feel something that's not there, or it could even be an emotion or feelings, they are said to be called clairsentience. And if the psychic has the ability of just knowing something without any prior knowledge or fact, this is called claircognizance. And the last one is the ability that I possess, mainly in regards to people. It's also said by many that psychic power is available to everyone who wants to work with it. Yes, believe it. People experience psychic power all the time, and much of the time without even really realizing it's psychic power. It's known as intuition, knowledge that comes to us, or something that we may call an aha moment, or we just might even call it simply a gut feeling, okay? Now, I want to tell you, many times you'll find that those gut feelings you get, you should really pay attention to them and listen to them, because most times they are correct and spot on. Now, there are other abilities and other skills that some psychics possess, but we went over the basic ones for tonight's show, and it's just kind of a little brief rundown, because actually we could do a whole show, and we probably will, just on psychics and their abilities. Now, granted, while not everyone who claims to be a psychic truly has the gifts or has developed or perfected their skill, there are quite a few people who do have those skills and who have, proven time and time again that they have developed their psychic skills. Some of them are truly amazing and remarkable. I find it's just extraordinary how connected and developed their psychic skills really are. Many, many professionals in law enforcement and other agencies have requested the services of very skilled psychics. And for good reason. I mean, they have helped solve lots of cases and locate lots of missing persons. Sometimes it doesn't always turn out so well on a missing person. They're actually finding bodies, but nonetheless, at least they bring some closure to the families. Now, let's just call these people who do this psychic detectives. That sounds pretty darn good. Some of them use their skills of telepathy and remote viewing, which I find just totally amazing, the remote viewing part. Let's get into some of these fascinating cases. But first, I just got to put this out there. It's just a little disclaimer that I must mention. I'm not promoting any particular psychic. I have not been contacted by any of the psychics in any of the cases I'm going to speak about tonight, and I'm not being compensated in any way. These are just cases that I found to be astounding and that I'm going to share with you guys. So, first we'll talk about this case that involved the psychic by the name of Debbie Malone. Now, Debbie Malone is quite gifted and a very talented psychic. She's helped on more than one crime case, of course, several. She is one of Australia's top psychic mediums. She's written several books. She offers classes and teachings and spiritual guidance, and of course, readings. So the case that she has helped with, that I'm going to talk about, is the murder of this gal by the name of Maria Scott. Now, there was a former detective, Constable Jeffrey Little. He had originally investigated the murder of the Southern Highland woman, and her name, of course, is Maria Scott. And he contacted Debbie Malone after he'd seen her on a television program called Sensing Murder. Now, this program was about psychics who help solve cases, many of which just by seeing a photograph of the victim. Anyhow, the detective was preparing a report for the coroner, and he thought that Debbie Malone could help him fill in some of the blanks and some of the missing pieces to his case. So as it turns out, The police had suspected a man by the name of Mark Brown, who the victim, Maria Scott, had met at a rehabilitation facility. Now, they thought this man was her killer. So they ended up taking Debbie Malone to the facility, and at the time, the facility was actually being restored and the building was gutted. Okay. So she had described what Maria Scott was wearing, where they had found her blood, and where Maria Scott was ultimately beaten to death. Debbie Malone even expressed, and this is crazy, that she could see the attacker, but the attacker actually walked straight through her. And she told the detectives that she has only experienced that with ghosts that walk through her. So what the detectives hadn't told her was that the key suspect had actually committed suicide. And Debbie Malone had saw all of these things just by holding a bangle bracelet that belonged to Maria Scott. So she did indeed confirm the nature of the crime and the killer without any previous knowledge of the case. The police were so impressed with Debbie Malone's help that they referred her to the National Missing Persons Unit so that she could help locate missing persons and work with families of missing persons. And I'll let you know, she was not paid for her services. And anytime you have someone that's not charging like thousands of dollars for services, you're more likely to believe what they're doing and believe in their skill, you know. I believe she's a very gifted psychic medium. This next case, it takes us to New Haven, Connecticut. Now, on July 16th, 1973, this 22-year-old gal by the name of Penny Sarah, she was found murdered at a Temple Street garage in broad daylight. Now, Penny had went there to go shopping for furniture at a mall. She had parked on the 9th level of the parking garage, and eyewitnesses had reported seeing her struggle with a man. Okay. Now, Penny would shortly thereafter be found dead on the 10th level of the parking garage with a stab wound to the left area of her chest. There was blood trails from the 9th floor to the 10th floor, and her car was actually found parked erratically on the 10th floor of the parking garage. Blood and latent fingerprints were also found in the car, and a handkerchief was found at the crime scene. It also contained blood and a spot of paint. Now, the detectives also determined that the assailant was injured during the attack, and it also left a blood trail. Now, you got to remember, back in 1973, there was no DNA test at that time, and all they could basically do was the blood type test. Well, they found the blood type to be O, and the detectives, they were running into a lot of difficulty trying to figure out who killed Penny. An ex-boyfriend and a worker at a local diner were first named as suspects, okay? And obviously, your exes or current boyfriends, spouses, they're always looked at first anyhow. However, they didn't have enough evidence to link either of those two people to the murder. Now, testing back in that time just was not advanced enough, and no murder weapon was found. But the coroner had determined her injury resulted from a knife with a blade of at least 3 inches long. So, as time dragged on a little bit, the lead investigator on the case decided to call in the help of psychic medium Mary Downey. Mary Downey predicted that Penny's murder was most